Good evening, everyone. I am Lisha Dure, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to One-on-One, where we bring to you some of the best minds in Trinidad and Tobago. Tonight, we will be discussing developments in Trinidad and Tobago's dairy sector. But before we get into it, we would like to acknowledge the sad passing of Councillor for Reform Manahambri, Vashti Sukhdev, who would have passed today at the age of 60. So we would like to invite everyone joining us tonight to pause with us as we observe 1 minute of silence in her memory. We extend our deepest condolences to her family, friends, and loved ones. May her soul rest in eternal peace. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of One-on-One. I know we haven't met for a while, and that's because we were traveling and occupied with other priorities, but we are back, and we do intend to keep up our regular schedule of meeting at 8 p.m. on Tuesdays every week. Tonight, as I said before, we will be discussing something that is significant in Trinidad and Tobago, and that is the developments of the dairy sector in T&T. We would have last spoken on this issue maybe about a month ago. Dr. Donny Rogers would have been our key speaker. And we had just received the news then that Nestle was considering selling its local dairy and juice business. Of course, this would have been something that would have raised serious concerns amongst our dairy farmers because Nestle is the principal buyer of locally produced milk. Now, since then, Prime Minister the Honorable Kamala Persad-Bissessar, God bless her soul, she is the most wonderful Prime Minister we have ever had in this country, the history of this country. I'm saying that outright. The Honorable Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar, she would have established an interministerial team to manage the situation, to protect our local dairy farmers, workers, and other stakeholders. Since then, we've had HADCO coming forward and also SEPROD, and they have expressed an interest in discussions should Nestle begin a formal sale process. So the overall picture is Nestle's possible sale presents an immediate risk to our farmers. However, on the bright side, it could also open up the door to new investment, expanded processing, and increased local production. Our guest speaker tonight is our very own Dr. Donny Rogers. Donny, as you would know by now, is a dairy farmer, an agripreneur, and also an agricultural consultant. He has been working closely with the interministerial team, and so is very qualified to give us an update on the developments within the dairy sector. Now, I know Dr. Rogers may not be able to share certain sensitive information with us, but I know he will share as much as he can. So I would like to welcome you, our viewers who are joining us on Zoom and social media. We are excited to have you back with us. Members of the media who have been tuning in, we are thrilled as usual. As I say, week to week, we want to make the session as interactive as possible. So we encourage you to actively participate. Raise your hand if you want to make a contribution. Feel free to share your comments and questions on the chat. We are live on social media. We are live on Facebook. We are live on Zoom. Please share the live. You know, the more people we have joining us is going to be better for us. So without further ado, I would like to pass the mic over now to the very capable Dr. Donny Rogers, who's going to kick off our discussion tonight.
Good night, Lisha. Good night to our guests. Good night to everyone. It's a pleasure to have you back, Lisha. I know, as I told you earlier before we went live, we could clearly see the benefits of that vacation on you. And I mean, you work very hard, so it's a rest that's well deserved. So let's get in straight to the conversation. With a little recap. On the 3rd of July, Nestle would have made a announcement that was simultaneous with the Minister of Agriculture and the farmers. That was a Friday 3rd, that they are exiting the local milk and juice line. Now, they would have also announced that by the end of this year, the expectation is that that would have been it. They would have ceased operations in that regard. That would have caused some concerns, and I would have put out a position on that. And it was a very simple position. Number one is that for 63 years or so, Nestle has been the only guaranteed market, and under contract as well, because Nestle also receives subsidy on behalf of the farmers and stuff like that from the government for milk. So Nestle has been the guaranteed market for all the locally produced milk. It simply means that every liter of milk that is produced from a farmer locally, Nestle is bound to accept it and purchase it, save and except for the milk doesn't, meet certain criterions in quality and stuff like that. Secondly, and this is very important, the Nestle plant is the only UHT milk plant in the country, right? Owing to the volumes that we currently have, the only way we could continue milk production is with a UHT process. And my last point in that raised the concern is 6 months would have been too short of a period, and it was very inconsiderate to the farmers and the sector and the continuity of business in the sector for Nestle to have made an announcement of an exit in 6 months, knowing very well of the first 2 points that I identified, with them being the guaranteed market and with them being the only UHT plant. 6 months would have not given the country.
Donny, let me interrupt you here. I am not seeing the live stream. I don't know if you want to hold on and maybe we do a restart.
I'm seeing it live. I'm seeing a green tick that says live.
I know, but I am not seeing it on Facebook, or let me see YouTube. I don't know if you want to hold on. It is actually live on YouTube.
Right.
It is live on YouTube.
I'm seeing it live. I'm seeing a green tick that says live.
I know, but I am not seeing it on Facebook, or let me see YouTube. All right, so we are in fact live on YouTube. So go ahead.
Okay, good.
To interrupt you.
So,
I don't know if you want to hold on. It is actually live on YouTube.
Okay, I'm getting a double feedback here. I'm not too sure.
I'm seeing it live. I'm seeing a green tick that says live. I know, but I am not.
Right. I can continue. You hearing me? Okay, good. So Nestle exiting in that period would have led to what I put out publicly as a technical term in milk production called a forced dry off, which means that without the guaranteed market for milk, farmers would have had to dry off their animals, which would have led to issues that you can't recover from in milk production. And once the drying off of an animal occurs for any reason other than the natural reproductive cycle, it is almost impossible to regain that productive level of the animal. And what this would have meant is that dairy farmers would have suffered significant depleted output levels, even from where we are now. And some farmers would have become totally unprofitable, and the animals would have been sent to slaughter for meat. And altogether, over a short period of time, we could have lost the sector. So, and that position was also communicated to the Prime Minister. And I have to commend the Prime Minister for her position, because she welcomed the advice and she took the advice, and she would have set up the interministerial team, as you indicated. Senator Swartzing is the head of that committee and has been doing a wonderful job engaging everyone involved. Now, on the 19th of July, there was an interministerial team that would have met with farmers and given an update. On that date, it was announced that Nestle had agreed to a period of about 12 months. So it moved from 6 months to 12 months, which would have given everyone involved that time to actually put something in place to create a smooth transition away from the Nestle ownership into whatever is going to come, because we have not even reached that stage as yet. Now, there was quite a bit of misinformation that was being put out there by various persons for their own specific reasons. I'm not going to get into why. I will just address the misinformation that was outside there. Now, we have to be careful, because we are in a position where we want to promote the private investment or the investment into the Nestle plant to ensure continuity for the success of the farmers. But how are we to promote investment security if we have people shouting and making noise with all sorts of misinformation and wrong information? And specifically, there were people who, for whatever reasons, educated persons, and I ain't gonna call names, but very educated persons who should have known better, that wanted to make this political and started to send out information out there that, oh, it's because of the management of the country and this and that, and because of the economy and stuff like that. And that would have prompted me to do two graphs that I presented at T&T. Lisha, if you want, you could put up the graph with regards to the timeline of events, and I could explain that a bit. Right. So I hope everyone can see the graph. So what that shows is that in March of 2024, Nestle would have exited the Ecuador market. In October 2025, Nestle made an announcement that they were cutting 16,000 jobs globally in 2 years. In November 2025, they exited the Jamaica market. In February 2026, they would have exited both the Paris and the Peru markets. Now, the Paris market is very important in this conversation, because we want to look at the context in which this is happening. The value of the Paris market was estimated to be worth 1.3 billion euros. And Nestle exited that market because of a global restructuring or a global strategy that they have employed, that they just decided they are getting out of certain lines. And it has nothing to do with the economy of any country, because we are seeing from Ecuador, Jamaica, Paris, Peru, we are seeing this. And in July of 2026, we would have gotten the Trinidad and Tobago announcement. Now, whilst we're on the graphs, I also want, and this has very little to do with Nestle's decision. I have to say this before we go to the next graph. This has very little to do with Nestle's position, but as we are on the graphs, I will just touch on that one time. But I wanted to make it very clear that this next slide really has nothing to do with Nestle's position. So, Alicia, can we have the next slide, please? Right. So once we're talking about the sector, we want to talk about our historical production. We want to look at, I mean, it's not just about talking about Nestle, but let's talk about ourselves as well. Where have we been? And I looked at it from a 10-year position, in which in 2014, our productive levels was 3.94 million liters per year. 5 years afterwards, in 2019, it dropped to 2.93 million liters per year. And in 2024, that would have even further reduced to 1.72 million liters per year. That means that we would have had an overall decline in local milk production of 56.3% over 10 years. Highly significant. Alicia, you could come off of the graph now and right. So now the reason why that is highly significant is, number one, we are seeing where we were, and number two, Trinidad and Tobago in the dairy category imports over $750 million in the dairy category every year. In liquid milk import, we import approximately $350 million in liquid milk every year. There is no reason why Trinidad and Tobago cannot reach the level where we could be producing all our milk. We have the land space, against popular belief, or what we were led, well, some people, what they were led to believe. We have the technical capacity, and we have the farming cohort to ensure that that could be done. So there is no reason why we can't get to there. Now, as it stands currently, what I can say is that the interministerial team, who obviously report to the Prime Minister, have been working very hard to ensure that everyone involved in the entire network, which would be the farmers, the employees of Nestle as well, which I think is about 200, even Nestle as an entity, and the sector on the whole, that all these entities or all these parts would receive the best benefit as possible. So I could say that everything is being considered towards a smooth transition. I will say that locally there is no shortage of interested parties, none whatsoever. The investment climate, from what I have seen, is very strong, because there are things, as I said, I can't see, right? But from what I've seen, there is no shortage of SMEs and businesses coming forward with proposals to create a seamless transition in this issue. The Nestle transition is an investment opportunity now. And for those who understand the market, it is a highly profitable investment and is an investment that could yield very significant results from medium to long term. The short term will require fixing things because, as I've just shown, we have a historical low productive output in local milk, and the intent should be to offset our food import by the increase in local production. So I will say that any entity or wherever this reaches, with whichever entity or whichever group or consortium or wherever it goes, whoever takes over the plant will see or will realize a very strong investment portfolio because, I mean, I'll just put it in layman's terms, the sky is the limit with regards to that entity. Now, if we were to look at opportunities now, as we're talking about, we may think that this transition means something negative, but really it can be used for whoever is coming in to create a sustainable approach to dairy production locally. And I think the statistics and the parameters of the sector indicate that there is only one way you could go from here, and that's up. So for anybody coming in, knowing that there could only be a positive rate of return on the investment, it provides strength, further strength, where, that investment could be secured and they'll, obviously have good returns on it. I also believe that this provides an opportunity where the private sector can diversify their portfolio by looking at this Nestle issue as an investment opportunity. And we have seen so far very strong proposals coming forward. This can even go, and I'm stretching a little bit here, but when we look at the potential that our local dairy sector holds, I will not rule out in a few years, once this is done properly, an IPO to be offered by this new entity because of the developmental milestones that they could be hitting every year and every 2 years. It now presents an opportunity for the regular person, for the investor, for the homeowner, for the housewife, whoever, for the young professional to look at investment into this as a national investment plan. And I think an IPO is something that could definitely come out from this in the medium term. Coming out from this as well, once this is done correctly, we can see a reduction and an ultimate elimination in that dairy category of $750 million. Now, how do we do that? We do that by empowering SMEs, because half of that import value, $350 million, is farmers. Farmers have the potential to make that amount of money collectively. On the other side, what do you do with the milk? What do you do with the excess milk? And there will be excess milk because dairy is an industry where you generally increase your capacity by 50% every year through natural progression of the reproductive cycle. You have the opportunity where you can increase your output and income by 50% every year organically or naturally without the need for capital investment. So this now presents an opportunity where the SME sector can be empowered, can diversify, and can grow for those who are involved in food production, in dairy processing, and so forth, right? Not just even food processing and dairy production, but we are talking about the companies that make feed. There's NFN, there's Nutrimix, and so forth, right? When you increase the amount of heads of animals you have, and when there is the need for an exponential increase, it will translate in an exponential increase in the need for feed. More sales, more income, more profits, right? I mean, simply put, I'm not going to use it in any big fancy terms. Let's just, break it down to the, down to the ground, right? It will also bring opportunities for all the companies that do support services for the sector. We have AI technicians. We have companies who import medicine for animals, who import equipment, um, all of the small entrepreneurs and SMEs who have, what do you call those things? Feed depots, right? All these things present an opportunity for a sector to flourish where the economic activity within the sector can increase exponentially in just the matter of years. From my experience and my calculations, in 3 years, if this is done correctly this year, in 3 years, well, over 3 years, because I don't want somebody to take that I'm saying at the end of 3 years, but over 3 years at least, you will see exponential growth and you will see high economic activity being generated within the agricultural sector, specifically the activities that goes towards dairy production. And as I said, 3 years is just the beginning because the dairy sector is one, and it's very unique in this regard, where your productive output increases by 50% every year, naturally, without the need for investments. So that generally is a nutshell of what I have to say. If you have any questions, Lisha, or anyone, or any clarity that is needed.
Well, Donny, I want to thank you for giving us a very good overview right now. Let me just go to, I see someone here with their hand up. Could you please identify yourself because I am seeing iPhone?
Lisha, it's Alim.
Okay.
Oh,
Welcome.
good night,
Thank
Aline.
you for joining us.
Eh,
You know, I saw your comments on Facebook
uh,
saying your car getting, your car
uh,
getting, your car getting, but
uh,
thank you. Go ahead, Ali.
Lisha, Donny, I want to take
Yes,
this
sir.
opportunity to congratulate Donny. I have been following Donny for the last few months, and in particular with this situation with the Nestle aspect. And I don't think there's anybody in Trinidad and Tobago that has the capacity to do what Donny has been doing because I saw that television interview with him on TTT recently, with him and Minister Swarat Singh. And to have Minister Swarat Singh and Donny Rogers on the same platform tells a very big story for Trinidad and Tobago because I see that Donny has the capacity and I have confidence in Donny because Donny has been doing some work other than that, going around the country, across the country to all the chambers, not on the agricultural sector, but on the other sector. And at the same time, I am inviting all of you listeners to join us tomorrow at Maritime Plaza, where Donny and a team of people will be making presentations on not only on agriculture, but other aspects with the Ministry of Trade and PISOT. This group is doing a wonderful job, and Donny is heavily involved. And we're looking forward to see Donny move together with the minister and this team because Nestle, like to all of us, I grew up as a child knowing Nestles and
Mhm.
Nestle. And I think that the work and Donny and the team doing, I am certain it will be the redound of Trinidad and Tobago in this whole field. I can see the economy growing. Only yesterday we saw some new developments in the steel industry. We've seen it in other areas, and I'm encouraging all citizens to join these programs across the country to listen what is happening because we really, according to Donny, we are getting a lot of misinterpretation about this whole situation on this Nestle thing. And I am happy that we have a person like Donny Rogers, but the knowledge to work together with the government and seeing this become a fruition.
Alim,
Alim,
thank you. You were very, very kind to me. Thank you, Alim.
yeah, I mean, we have to make Alim your marketing man, right? But PESOT, right? That's the Public Services
Yeah,
Organization of
The
Trinidad
right.
and
public
Tobago.
sector organization, the
Public
private
sector,
sector, sorry, the
Right.
private sector
private
organization of
sector
Trinidad and Tobago. We
organization
have a couple members here tonight.
of Trinidad and
They can
Tobago.
feel free to,
Right.
join the conversation. So the private sector organization, Trinidad and Tobago, PSOT, has been liaising with the various business chambers and has been doing outreach, almost like pre-budget outreach to the business community, in various areas. Tomorrow we are
Our
in
business.
Barataria. Yeah, we are in Barataria with Alim. Check their pages, check their social media. You'll see where we'll be.
So
At 5
I
what
know.
o'clock.
social media page is that? Because you all just say, okay, event tomorrow,
We
but
it's
you're
on the
not telling
Sour
us where,
it's on the
when, what's the
Sour
name of
Business
it?
Association
The
page.
Sour Business Association. All right, let me see if I
Yeah,
can get a flyer
yeah,
and I will
Yes.
share it with
And
the
we are
where.
starting at 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
right.
All right.
I will send you the other dates, Leisha, so you could probably put it up as
Donny,
well.
you would have the flyer, you could share it with them. I
Sure,
sent
sure,
it
sure. I will.
I
Yeah.
sent it for you this afternoon.
Yes, yes, yeah. I got it.
Uh,
I will share it as well. So, as and being a member of PSOT, um, I mean, I could say they've been doing a wonderful set of work in the private sector, liaison with both private sector and government, with the shared ideology of the creation of positive change. That's what it's about, you know. So yeah, there's a lot of work that happens. And really, Alim, is just because we just want to create positive change. That's what it's about.
Correct.
Um, so, we're glad, we're very happy we have people like you who in the Sanoa Business Association, because PSOT can't do this alone. We need to team up with everyone. We need to have everyone involved in this, because this is not a one-man show. It is not a one organization show. Collectively is where we could make the difference. And not just collectively, but, sometimes, Ali, we need to step out of our comfort zone. You
Correct.
know, if I didn't step out of my comfort zone, I wouldn't be talking about this, to,
And
with these
Donny,
folks.
one of the things I have been preaching for the last month, I was in several interviews, and I am telling the country, the time has come for us to stop criticizing and attacking. We all have a role to play to build Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad and Tobago don't belong to Ali Muddin or Donny or Lisha. It belongs to all of us. And instead of we attacking and making demonstrations, it will not help us because we're not reaching anywhere. I mean, I am very encouraged after seeing yesterday a new development taking place in Central, where Espat was, and I am seeing that more is going to happen. That is why I am calling for us to unite, and I would like to congratulate Pisot for the work they did. We have accepted them to come to Barataria tomorrow, the Samo Business Association, and we would like to encourage all other organizations, wherever you are in Trinidad, to invite you and your team to come and preach what the country really needs. And that is the work that you all are doing for the country.
So that is 5 p.m. tomorrow at the
Yet at the
headquarters of the
Maritime
Sour
Plaza at 5
Maritime
p.m.
Plaza.
Right? And
Mhm.
it starts at 5. And Donny will be there to lend
All right.
his knowledge with us too.
And that's open to the public, the general public?
It's
Open to
open
the
to the
general
public.
public.
All right,
Hmm.
great, great.
Yeah.
All right,
Good. Thanks, Alim.
thank you for that,
Right.
Alim, right? And hopefully, well, I will try to pass in
I
tomorrow.
would like to see you. I would like to see you coming, joining us after that long, nice trip. We'd love to see you here after the trip.
Well, you don't like to see me relax and enjoy myself, huh? But
Yes.
okay, I am back and we are full, going full steam ahead, right, with the normal routine. Thanks again, Alim. So I
Yeah.
want to go across to Richard now. I see Richard has his hand up.
Okay.
Okay. Hi. Good night, everyone. Richard
Good
Lewis
night,
here,
sir.
chairman of the PSOT, Private Sector Organization of Trinidad and Tobago, and
Wonderful.
we also have Amjad Ali, who is the vice chairman. So we were represented.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, and members of the SME committee. So just quickly, I mean, this Ali, and thank you very much for what you've said about the organization.
Richard, would you like to put on your camera? Would you like to?
Well, if you want.
Well, I mean, yes.
No problem. No problem. No problem.
Totally up to you. Totally up to you. And
Right.
right, go right ahead.
Okay, so yeah, so I think it's important also mentioning to thank Alim and the organization for being one of the regional chambers that when we started PSOT, we made one big promise to all of the regional chambers that they would not, PSOT would never forget that over the years, these regional chambers were not really part and parcel of what was happening we call it the national chamber level. And since then, it's been amazing to see how the regional chambers have been able to participate and grow and see real opportunities going forward, and which we at PSOT are very, very happy to be able to help project manage this entire new wave of activity coming from the what I would call the regional slash SME community. Because in those regions, they have some very big businesses also. But I think the participation now is to try and get the SMEs, the S's into M's and one day into L's. But on another point is very important. I think I mentioned here because I met Donny at our head office for PSOT in a meeting, and I listened to him talk about his dairy business. I'm on the board of Republic Bank in Guyana, and I would say about a month after I met Donny, I was down there, and we at Republic Bank are part of the financing of a very innovative, high tech milk producing operation owned by Demerara Distillers. Well, if you don't know much about it, they're probably the third biggest company in Guyana. They make all those amazing rums that we all drink, right? That Trinidad seems to have latched on to. Having said that, they're in the milk business. And they are basically importing milk at the moment. Very little of it is coming from their dairy farm. And they have a UHT operation. And they have chosen to actually go into milk production themselves. Pure technology. They've done it with a company not from this region. I wouldn't worry to go into details of where it's from. But point is that Donny told me when I spoke to him about it when I came back, he said, Richard, I have the technology to be able to do exactly what they're doing. And we really started to talk about how this is going to go for Trinidad and Tobago. The conversation was not about Nestle. This was how can we, with 5 farms that kind that we are talking about, dominate. When I say dominate, be able to produce all the milk that is necessary at that time for Nestle to fill full capacity of their operation in Valse there. So when the story came about Nestle, and Label House is my company, and we supply Nestle with a number of things. And this is not the first time they started talking about their plans, which did not include a manufacturing operation in Trinidad. I mean, this is a global structure of a global massive company. So it's not to say, oh God, they didn't like us here. That's not the point. And I think Donny made that point. What it is an opportunity. Turn this into an opportunity. And with what Donny is speaking about, if we can produce our own milk, and he has assured me that the cost of production with the technology and what his circular dairy farm, which is actually producing the feed that the cows would eat, I mean, I'm putting it in a layman's terms.
Yeah, yeah.
It would be a circular farm, which is nothing wasted, and some of it is selling, whether it's the corn, selling the corn and using the rest of the corn to feed the cows. The cows are happy; they're bred for this particular thing, so it's not as though, and they're not roaming in thousands of acres all over the place. They're happy cows, and the happier they are, the more milk they produce, right?
Mhm.
And so we're looking at that way in advance of what happened here. And I think that Donny has taken the lead. He is moving between the government side of it and the private sector. And he knows, and everybody should know, that we are in full support, absolutely full support of trying to grow this into a commercial milk venture. This is not, everybody subsidizes agriculture all over the world, and a lot of it is in dairy. But at some stage of the game, the private sector needs to be able to have commercial operations that people in the business of agriculture actually make money and actually can educate their children and grow and live in the same type of conditions that everybody else in business can live in. And that is one of the objectives of this exercise. It's not just to have people who are farmers out on some little farm somewhere and for the rest of their lives they're living waiting on subventions and so on. That's not where we want to live. And Donny himself um, is the kind of person who understands that thinking and is now beginning to put that into the overall agripreneur, as you call them.
Correct.
They, that if once we get this going, this is proof of the pudding that not only in the dairy and milk business, but in all the other factors of agriculture, people can have a good standard of living and not just wait on subventions. And yes, there will be some, obviously, because that's how it operates, but not a full dependence on that. And I must, so I'll stop there. I just want to tell Donny that he knows that the private sector is behind it, this venture totally. So whoever and whatever happens, he mentioned earlier about the fund, and the fund that the risk takers will obviously come forward with their not only equity but the knowledge of how business works is critical. So it's not just passive capital that is going into this. This is people who will give their time and effort and thinking and brain power and connections to be able to make this a success, and then allow the citizenry to be able to buy shares, even if it's $1 a share. And down the road, we will all benefit when it can go to an IPO on the stock market. And it's just a gleaming example that what could be done when private sector and public sector and
Correct.
entrepreneurs get together and academics get together to do something of this nature. So congratulations, Donny. Continue your effort, and we're right here behind you. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
And
I appreciate the vote of confidence. Thank you. And I think you're right. I think when we look at agriculture, we will see statistically that our productive levels are low. But what that is to someone who looks at it from a strategic point of view is a gap presents an opportunity, and an opportunity to do it right and do it sustainably, where value can be brought to everyone. And that you spoke about private sector, public sector, farmer, academics, that helix model, as I put it, that is the recipe for success. Thank you again, Richard. I appreciate it.
pleasure.
Well, Richard, I want to thank you and also the other members of PSOT who have joined the platform tonight. I mean, I really, really love the positivity in your message, and I mean, I am all for trying as much as possible to make Trinidad and Tobago as independent as possible. And that would mean that we do need food security. A nation that cannot feed itself is not a free nation, right? And of course, when we talk about food, something like milk, dairy is so critical, right? And I do want to offer a platform, and that's why we created the platform to PSOT. I mean, I think I do have to say, you all know, Donny, that
Yeah.
in whatever way we can assist PSOT, we are here, or the business chambers. We've had several business chambers that have come onto our platform, like the Sour Business Association. They're here all the time, and we are happy to support.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. So, Donny, well, I know you've gotten lots of kudos and so on, right? You've cleared up a lot of misinformation, whether people will listen or not. You know, in Trinidad, people tend to believe what they want to believe and not necessarily the facts, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
I am looking at the time, it is 8:55. Let me just take a glance very quickly. I want to say hello to a few people who have joined us on social media. I'm seeing Alan. I am seeing Ruth Nawaz, several comments from Nawaz. He's speaking about the increase in employment opportunities. We have the land, we have the farmers. Yes, we do. And we need to see the opportunity in this, because I do
Well,
agree with a lot that Richard has said. And a situation like this might actually become a turning point needed to
yes,
rebuild,
correctly. Yeah,
right?
yeah, it should. It
Turning
should.
point. That's how we need to look at it, a turning point that
Mhm.
is necessary to rebuild the dairy industry and agriculture.
Well, as with the point that you said with Nawaz, when you look at employment, if we were to look at the farm side of employment and the subsequent levels of employment that could be generated to the support services such as the pluck shops and the artificial insemination technicians, the vets, the sales rep, everybody who involved in that ecosystem. And this is not talking about the possible employment that could occur from developing the SME sector. Just on the production side, over 5 or 6 years, you could see about 3,000 long-term sustainable jobs being created just from this one activity in this sector. Because dairy farming is just one activity in the agricultural sector, right? So when we talk about the development of a sector sustainably, we have to approach it not just as a blanket, but from, well, I mean, in my view, we have to approach it with the development of clusters. Each cluster required different implements, different inputs in order for it to be successful. And if we look at it in that way, we could find ourselves being a little bit more specific as it relates to policy. But when we look at the employment, um, I estimated about 3,000 jobs over 5 to 6 years being created, and that will be long-term sustainable jobs. And we have not started to talk about the jobs that could be created from agro processors, from dairy processors. We going all the way to having sales reps and all those kinds of things, merchandisers, everything. When we start to develop dairy production, we're talking about refrigeration as well. It's not just about milk. We're talking about label house and other people who do labels to now have a larger pool of persons who need labels and need packaging, right? So we're also talking about capacity building of our citizens, So it's far reaching when we sustainably look at increasing baseline production. When you increase baseline production, a lot of magical things happen, right? And I'm not trying to be whimsical, but it's factual. If you really look at it from a developmental ecosystem perspective, the magic occurs when you have an increased um, baseline production, right? Now, as I speak about that, let me just touch on something. 2 weeks ago, I put out an article where I announced that for the comparative period, January to June 2025 versus 2026, we saw a reduction by 45% in pre-deal larceny, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people asking why, if it is people were not reporting it, why, there'll be a lot of people who, would question it. And I don't want to say be negative about it because as an academic as well, I welcome questions, right? It gives me the opportunity to really educate people and put the right information out there, right? So let me explain why you have the reduction in pre-deal larceny. Aside from the fact that the pre-deal larceny unit started to get equipped in 2025, let's take away that. Let's take away the political side of it. I have been reporting throughout the year and a half, and especially for this year, I have been reporting that productive levels have increased just a little bit by about 10%, 10 maximum 15%, but the productive levels, most importantly, have stabilized. Meaning you're not getting high spikes and you're not getting low spikes. So you're not getting gluts, you're not getting shortages. What happens when you have stable output levels is that the pricing index becomes stable. So tomatoes doesn't go to $40 a pound. That will make somebody want to run in your field in the night and thief tomatoes, right? So because we have generally stable prices so far this year, that from my research position, I am saying that is the major contributor towards pre-deal larceny being reduced by 45% because it is not economically viable anymore to go and steal something that is $6 a pound and $5 a pound, right? Let's be real. That why you're going to get locked up to steal something that is $5 a pound. They might be tempted if it's $40 a pound, right? Like in past years, what happened. But now we have stable prices because of stable output levels. And that is the most contributing factor towards the 45% decline in pre-deal larceny. And in that article, I mean, I don't want to, go too much into it, but the Prime Minister has empowered her ministers to create change. So we are starting to see the embryonic change in the sector. And the reason why I'm using the term embryonic is because over an extended period where the productive levels became low, to create that change now where we're starting to see that turnaround, it takes work and it takes time, right? That in the agricultural sector, we have to be real that change in the agricultural sector will take some time. It shouldn't take forever. I'm not saying that, but it will take some time. And already with the embryonic changes that we are seeing, it is reflecting in stable output, stable prices, decreases in pre-deal larceny. And the statistics speak everything. It is not I coming up and creating the statistics. My statistics from pre-deal larceny, and I always cite my data, you know that. My statistics from pre-deal larceny come from CAPA in the TTPS. CAPA is a department where they capture crime data, and for researchers, you could have access for it. All right. So that is where my information comes from. It's not a Donny Rogers statistic, right? It comes from an empirical source. All right. So I just, had to go on that point where because of the changes that we have so far, we are seeing the reduction in pre-deal larceny, and I think farmers should welcome that. That will be a very welcome position for the rest of the year, right? And if we keep it up, we could see, in my opinion, we could see a record level of low pre-deal larceny this year. But time will tell. It's still just over the half of the year. January next year, we'll be able to say exactly what took place.
Okay, well, I am very, very glad to hear about this 45%. It's 45%, you said, right? Reduction in pre-deal larceny for whatever reason. I know, Donny, you have your theory, but we still need empirical evidence. But I have to say myself, shopping in the groceries and so on, and the markets, you're seeing the prices of vegetables, fruits, and so on really reasonable these days. That's the word I want to use, reasonable.
You know, I will call her out, although she doesn't know I'm doing this, but everyone knows this economist, Indira Sajiwan. She is famous for going to the market and putting a video after that from her kitchen and speaking about what she got. Right? She's famous for doing that. She does that almost every week. And even with her, she is reporting that the prices are stable. Right?
Yeah.
And she's shopping at the market. Right? Now, we can't tell people where to shop. We could be saying the prices is low if you buy it in the market. And I can't go and call any name of any establishment, but if you choose to buy something elsewhere where the price may not be as low as getting it in the market, well, I mean, to each his own, nothing is wrong with that. But generally, we are seeing when you look at the baseline prices, the prices are generally stable compared to, last year.
Great. Right. Now, I just want to let our viewers know it is 9:06. We generally wrap up around 9:30. So if you all have any questions, any comments, anybody would like to make any sort of contribution, please feel free to raise your hand. Donny is available to address whatever concerns or questions you may have. Right. I do want to ask a couple questions, Donny, right? We do have a 300-liter pasteurization plant, a new plant operating in Londonville, if I recall, right?
Yeah.
And I would like to know what role this plant could play in creating another market for our locally produced milk.
So I know the Minister of Agriculture commissioned that facility. When I looked at that facility quite a number of months ago, I saw there was a plaque in it, and that facility was done initially in 2013. And afterwards it was just left there, and the now minister had recommissioned it. Now, we need to understand something. Although I am saying we have low productive figures, 56% decline, we still have 1.7 million liters of milk. That is not a little bit of milk. In the context of what we use, it's a little bit, but it's no little volume, right? In my opinion, the only process that could create the sustainability in the sector is for the milk to be preserved via UHT process. Now, the difference in pasteurization and UHT, pasteurization uses a machine called high temperature short time, HTST. So anytime you hear HTST machine, that's what it is. High temperature short time. That pasteurization unit will kill bacteria up to 99.9%, right? Generally, 99.9%. However, the shelf life on pasteurized is probably 21 days. And pasteurized milk has to be handled in a certain way. So the pasteurization temperatures go up to, I believe, 160 Fahrenheit, right? Which is about 70-something degrees Celsius, right? And that is done for like about 15 minutes or so. Now, the shelf life in that is 21 days. And the handling must involve cold chain at every step of the way. So pasteurized milk cannot be put on a shelf without refrigeration, right? Now, UHT, ultra high temperatures, the milk goes to 300 degrees Celsius for about 4 seconds. So it goes through a machine, it's flashed 300 degrees Celsius for 4 seconds. That takes off all the bacteria. It's homogenized and stuff like that, which means it doesn't clump and those sorts of things. And what that does, and because it's packaged in a specific type of cartoon, meaning it's either in a Tetra Pak or it's in a brick cartoon type, like what you get the orange juice and stuff like that. Because it's done like that in a specific type of environment, now you get a shelf life of 6 months. And it becomes stable without refrigeration. So that's the big difference. So I think that plant, so I wanted to explain that to you so you can understand, where I'm coming from. Because if I didn't explain it, somebody may have missed something, right? And you know me, I like to make sure you know what it is I'm talking about.
I know.
So that's the difference with pasteurization to UHT. So I think we did a little masterclass in understanding that. So that plant, I think it will be better suited for someone who wants to do value added, because you can't do ice cream there, you can't do yogurt. So it will be better suited for that. But I don't see it creating the opportunity where it could now offset what's going on with Nestle, right? It could be an avenue where a farmer could go in and he has a facility, just like what the Namdevgo packing house does, right? They go and they process your food and they put it into an end product, right? That processing facility can act in the same manner, where a farmer could go in now, he has milk, he wants to make yogurt. It could be positioned like that, where it could lead to value addition. And that is, I think, in my opinion, the best use for that. But I don't see it creating the avenue where it could take the place of the Nestle plant if it needs to. I don't think it would add value to it, respectfully. Right? So that's just the difference in it, from a technical perspective. But you could go in there, you can make ice cream, you could make yogurt, you could do those kinds of things.
Cheese, paneer.
Yeah, all those things you can make there. Yeah. You could get into the value added, but to say do it for box milk, no, it wouldn't work. And that's the real market. I mean, although the value added brings more money, you have to develop that market. Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And my final question from you is, what message would you give to dairy farmers who are uncertain about the future of the industry?
I would say to dairy farmers, there's a couple of things that they need to keep in mind. One, dairy farmers need to ensure that there's continuity in the sector. Don't align yourself with people who carrying on a narrative that is adverse to creating the security for investors, because you're cutting your own throat. And if that's the road people want to go down, well, fine, don't complain when your throat get cut, right? Dairy farmers have to be sensible enough where they align themselves to proper information and to ensuring that their actions contribute towards an investor coming and saying, yes, let's put money in Nestle and let's ensure that the guaranteed market remains and continues and is not disruptive for the dairy farmers. That's the first thing. The second thing is that, judging from everything I've said, everything that is in the public domain, from social media to news with the minister and I, to everything, the government is taking an active role in ensuring that value occurs for everyone involved. All right. The Prime Minister's position is that, I believe from things that were said, her position is she does not want to see disruptions occur, right?
Mhm.
Her actions showed just that, because immediately upon hearing what was going on, she put the interministerial team in place in quick time. And that shows the commitment to ensuring that there are, government does what they have to do, at least on their end, to ensure no disruptions. Now, I have to say something here. We have to understand Nestle is a private company, right? Nestle remains a private company. Nestle is not a government company. They are a private multinational enterprise, right? The onus is on Nestle to be fair. And Nestle must be fair to the farmers and to a country that they have been profitable in for about 100 years now, right? Nestle must be fair. When we look at trade practices, when we look at it from any perspective, Nestle must be fair, because when they exit from the milk and juice market, um, their brands will still be here, right? They should not operate in a way that will cause discontent with consumers. Now, I know we talk about milk. Let me just touch 2 sentences on juice. I think that the private sector has a good number of smaller juice processors and juice makers. We have quite a few brands locally. And I think with juice, we are okay. And I don't see the need to take away the potential from the smaller producers who could now build capacity and develop their SMEs to become a little bit bigger. As Richard say, you want to move from S to M and M to L, right? Small to medium, medium to large, right? You want to encourage businesses to grow. So I think with the number of processors we have and suppliers on the market in juice, I firmly believe that, and I hope I'm not incorrect, but I firmly believe that we can afford to leave that alone and let those smaller businesses who have been fighting for market share, who have been sticking with the market through thick and thin, give them now the space to grow, because that will develop the people who has been supporting the market and supporting the sector in profitable days and in lost days, right? Let's put it like that. So let them, take control of that market, let them grow, let them build capacity. Because when they build capacity and when they grow, the smaller juice processors not importing anything, The small juice processors want to go to a farmer to say, listen, I needed to grow passion fruit for me. I needed to grow oranges for me. I need to buy all the line that you have. So by empowering the smaller juice processors, you're also bringing it circular now back to the farmers and back to local production. So you're tying everything for the money to stay locally and to circulate locally. That is why in that context, I'm saying juice, I think we're okay if we allow the smaller private sectors, the smaller SMEs, to get the opportunity to build and to develop their capacity.
Thank you very much, Dr. Donny Rogers. So Donny, it is now 9:18, and I think we could, I'm not seeing any more questions. Let me just check again. Right? Yes, I don't believe there are any other questions on the chat, so I believe we can look to close up.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
have any final remarks for us?
Well, thank you for the opportunity to, bring these remarks and, clear the air on a lot of things. I believe that the guidance on proper information is really necessary. We need to start that shift where we start treating our farms as a business.
Mhm.
That is the only way we're going to develop. Start treating your farms as a business and start thinking along that line. Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate the outpouring of support that I got tonight. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. And I look forward to continue doing the work that I'm doing. It's as simple as that. The only intent I have is just to ensure that positive change occurs. That's all. Thank you for the support. I appreciate it.
Okay. So in closing, I would just like to say thank you to everybody who joined us tonight. Our topic has been developments in T&T'S dairy sector, and it was definitely a well-presented discussion. What I got out of it is, despite the uncertainty surrounding the dairy sector, there is genuine reason for hope. What we are seeing is very proactive government intervention. This is an issue that the Prime Minister is dealing with herself. We are seeing potential new investment. A lot of people are interested. And we are also seeing the commitment of our farmers. So Trinidad and Tobago should be viewing this as an opportunity, not just to preserve the industry, but to rebuild it stronger than before. And once we work together, right, as I would have said earlier, this moment of uncertainty can be a turning point for us in Trinidad and Tobago, where we are going to see more productive, sustainable, and a much more productive, sustainable, food secure future for our country. And that is what we want, right? We've been preaching about this for how much years on this program. So I want to say thank you to Dr. Donny Rogers, right? Mr. Richard Lewis of
Peace out.
PSOT, right, the private sector organization of Trinidad and Tobago, and of course, our friend Alimuddin Mohammed, director of the Sawa Business Association. We would have also gotten an invitation for tomorrow at 5 p.m. at Maritime Plaza, and that would be a function that is being hosted by the Sawa Business Association in conjunction with PSOT. So everyone is welcome to attend. I want to thank all our viewers who joined us tonight on social media as well as on Zoom, members of the media who may have tuned in. This was indeed, I think, a very interesting, informative, and exciting discussion, and we will continue having discussions such as these every Tuesday at 8 p.m. So thank you, guys. Thank you, of course, Mr. Donny Rogers, and have a good night. Stay safe, Trinidad and Tobago. We will see you next week, Tuesday at 8 p.m. Take care.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you. And be safe, all.
Richard, thanks so much.
Pleasure.